Welcome to the Scoop, World Order. Happy Training Camp Eve. The only thing bigger than Texas is Ohio State Training Camp opening. So, man, we are here. It's opening up tomorrow. The guys are fired up. Some guys have shaved their heads. Some guys are getting real militant about it. It's going to be very exciting to see who's ready to go tomorrow and who's not. No pads on tomorrow, but we'll have the fans out. The fans always add a nice little juice to practice. We're going to break all that down. New Michigan stuff, man, I'm telling you, the Central Michigan stuff is going to bubble over as a cauldron into what's going on with the Michigan Wolverines. So we'll break that down as well. Take your super chats. Again, this is going to be a great show. We made it. I'm telling you. I mean, I know a lot of people, we go every single day, the whole off season. Since the Missouri game, we've been trying to get here. And folks, football is officially here. The Hall of Fame game is tomorrow night. And Ohio State football practice kicks off tomorrow. No pads on, but they'll have the fans out there. It's such a great day because we have football starting tomorrow until mid-January. So we're going to be excited for the next handful of months. Very excited about that. So we're going to take all your questions. Again, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like. Click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys. This is a huge show because you guys make it one. So thank you so much. Again, you guys have been awesome. Again, I implore you guys that are not members of BuckeyeScoop.com. It is your concierge membership to being a part of what Ohio State football really is and what's going on inside the program. At minimum, the people that went to the David Penterick Golf Classic yesterday will say that alone is worth the price of membership. It is an absolutely impossibly good deal. Again, our community is incredible. And again, for me, like I met a bunch of people that were just exceptional Patriots, exceptional Americans, exceptional Ohio State fans yesterday. Met them in person. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Emmett. Thank you to all of you guys that were there yesterday. It was absolutely incredible. What a great group. Again, Susie literally out of her own pocket made like 30 goodie bags for Scoop members. And it was, we got golf balls that say massive on them. We got little ball markers with the Buckeye Scoop logo. Just so good. It was so awesome to see everybody, meet everybody. Everybody that came this year said they're going to be back next year, so it's going to keep exploding. This past or yesterday, excuse me, was the best golf outing we've ever had. So again, I appreciate you guys so much that showed up, and we're going to keep this thing cranked up, as always, with my good friend at Nevadabuck. Nevada, the Michigan stuff at Central Michigan is exploding. They fired their quarterbacks coach yesterday, which is very atypical for a football program. They generally don't go a day before training camp and fire their quarterbacks coach. Obviously, he's the guy that was likely feeding everything to Connor Stalions, feeding him a coach's shirt and a credential to get on the sideline, whatever. It's pretty explosive because it's amazing it took this long for it to come out. I'm surprised that Central Michigan didn't make a move, I don't know, in October of last year when they figured all this out. But here we are. What are your thoughts of that and what's the latest?
Well, I mean, we talked about last night, but they literally have videotape of this guy handing the coaching outfit and the pass and everything through the gate to Stalions. So they had him, and when you kind of have somebody dead to rights like that, you kind of got to own it. Now, what was so interesting today though was that Michigan started to come out with this spin which is all you understand. This is all part of the Connor Stalions was a rogue agent type of narrative that they're trying to push right now to the people. So the story goes that Connor Stalions was doing this, but he wasn't doing this to help Michigan. He was doing this as like an independent contractor to help out Central Michigan. And so he was there, so yeah, this is the Michigan spin on this. This guy, this employee of Michigan wasn't working for Michigan. He wasn't going there to do a dry run on his signals. He wasn't doing that. He was there as a subcontractor, as a guy that was working for Central Michigan, working with his friends there, and that Michigan just didn't have any idea what this guy was doing on his night off, and he was out there moonlighting, working for CMU, and that's how he ended up on the sideline. And that's how which again is such an interesting spin. Because you would think, well, look, if that was true, if there was 1% of that was true, wouldn't he be talking to somebody at Central Michigan during the game? Wouldn't he be like talking to the defensive coordinator the head coach. I mean, somebody. Now he was visiting with people, but he wasn't talking in earnest with anybody. He was there with the spy glasses. He was recording. He was seeing if Michigan State saw the same signals on. But that's kind of the spin. The latest spin that Michigan's trying to put on this is that he was out there doing this as on his own volition, working for Central Michigan. And the implication was this wasn't even the first time that he'd done it. You got to remember the year before, I believe, there was kind of a similar situation, but only with Western Michigan. And, they're trying to say that he was doing it at the Western. So he was working for Central Michigan. He was working for Central Michigan. He was working for Western Michigan, but he was doing all this unbeknownst to the Wolverines. And this rogue agent, this independent contractor, was out there roaming the sidelines of these college football games, and they just didn't have any idea about it. So interesting spin on this, but when Central Michigan fires their quarterback coach, a guy that was clearly in line for bigger and better things at Central Michigan, on the eve of camp, you got to understand this has thrown Central Michigan into a complete flurry right now of activity. When you talk to players, you talk to parents, none of them saw this coming. This came out of nowhere. Clearly, their hand was forced by the pending NCAA investigation. They had to get to the bottom of who did this, how it was done. When they had the videotape, at that point there was no more hiding from it. He hadn't been candid with Central Michigan about it, so he had to go and he had to get fired. And now all the Central Michigan guys are running for cover. The Michigan guys continue to run for cover. I'd gotten a call from an interesting Michigan fan today that was he was saying, I talked to this guy has regular communication with Jim Harbaugh, regular communication with him, but he texted, hasn't talked to him in about 6 months, texted him, and Jim Harbaugh's like, who is this? And he's like, what do you mean, who is this? This is such and such name. And he's like, well, who, like, he clearly had deleted his phone, and he hadn't like downloaded everything from the cloud. You know what I'm saying? So clearly Harbaugh has bleach bit the phone or done whatever he was doing in terms of covering his tracks on this, because there's obviously stuff on there that he didn't want to share with other people. But yeah, when somebody calls you that you've been in, you've had long-standing communications with over the years, and all of a sudden you don't even have any idea who that person is, it's pretty good indication that you're trying to cover your tracks, that you're trying to kind of bury the evidence, as it were. And it's all coming down now. The Central Michigan stuff is just the beginning, just the appetizer. Hammer coming for Michigan, and sooner than later. I think it's imminent that this notice of allegations is going to get published, and it's going to be a glorious read.
Totally agree. In Nevada, we don't normally put messages on the board, but Vegas Buckeye says that Locked On Wolverines keep saying nothing is going to happen, and Stalions might get a level 3 violation, no bowl bans. Nevada, as far as I know, you're taking all bets on the people that are saying nothing is going to happen. Is that still stand?
Yeah, that stands. And the guy that's done it has been he's been so completely wrong. He's like, we're not even sure there's going to be a notice of allegations. We're not even sure there's not going to be anything. And it's so silly. He's been so wrong. Go check this guy's receipts. Go look at his stuff about the time of the Jim Harbaugh thing. He was, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's there. They didn't do anything wrong. Nothing. Oh, when it happened, they're going to fight it. Oh, they're going to win. Oh, they've already got the TRO written up. Oh, they're going to do. Oh, and this dude is a complete and total clown. But all you have to do is use a little bit of common sense. And this is, even if we weren't sourced up on this one, this is a pretty easy one. This is not a difficult caper to kind of unwind. But when you do that and you're sourced up, guys, we're not guessing on this. So if you're a Michigan fan, I'm telling you, you can either prepare for the worst and then just kind of deal with it, or you can go off into Never Never Land with Locked On whatever, or Rocked On Stupidity, or whatever the podcast it is. But you guys aren't skating on this. There is zero chance that you guys are skating. It's just a question of how bad it's going to be, and I think it's going to be very, very, very bad. So, and I'll take
Yeah.
bets on that.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, a lot of people like to talk, but like, we take bets. And again, when we say that, everybody goes into their molehill, everybody goes underground, everybody runs for the hills. And again, like, Nevadabuck is called Nevadabuck because, where he grew up, like, people pay their bets. People, if you've got, if you're compelled by something and you say you want to make some big, bold statement, and someone like Nevadabuck says, hey, okay, I'm your Huckleberry. You want to make a big statement? Let's back it up. Let's put the money in escrow and let's talk. Let's see what happens. You want to say nothing's going to happen? Okay. Get the checkbook out. Let's see what's really good. Because because Nevadabuck, like, if I say something crazy and Nevada says you want to bet, I was like, well, I don't feel that good about it. But if I feel good about it, then we'll place a bet. But I'm just telling you, like, when people say nothing's going to happen, again, it's like when the Houston Astros were cheating out the wazoo, won the World Series, banging on trash cans to say it's a fastball or a breaking ball or whatever. Like, that was a huge deal. And there were people say, oh, nothing's going to happen to those guys. I'm like, well, they got smoked like into infinity. And that's what's going to happen to Michigan. And again, I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be, it might be the best day in Buckeye Scoop history, because when it all comes down and everything comes crashing down, it's going to be, I think it's going to be amazing. And again, I know that Jim Harbaugh left, and I know that all the coaches left except for Sharon Moore. The whole staff got wiped out, deleted. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because I think that they're going to get absolutely scorched. They're going to get wins vacated. Scholarships are going to get reduced. Bowl bans. It'll be great. Because we'll be going to bowl games. We'll go to the playoffs, doing great. And they'll be sitting at home watching the big bad Buckeyes in the playoffs. Nevada training camp is opening up tomorrow. I cannot wait. Guys are very serious. There's no pads on, but I think that the fans being there, they've got like 500 tickets or so they've got fans that'll be there and give a little bit of juice. What is your prediction for the first day of camp? Because there's going to be storylines tomorrow. I think it's going to be the O-line's going to suck, because that's just what it always is the first day of camp, and people will overreact. They'll be jumping off of the bridge on Lane Avenue into the creek, into Olentangy River. And I'll be like, guys, we're going to be okay. I promise. There's no pads on. It's not a great time for the O-line when you don't have pads on. They're doing split field, so you're going to have like, these disheveled offensive lines going against really good D linemen. That's not going to be ideal. But I'm excited to see Will Howard. I think that, early in camp, I don't think Ryan's going to officially name a starter, but I think Will Howard's going to take all the reps, the ones, because they paid him to be the starting quarterback. Again, it's like baby NFL now, where if you spend a top 5 pick on a kid, he's going to be your starting quarterback. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, these kids that are all across the country in the NFL. If you take a pick that high, he's your starter. There's no, well, he's got to win the job, and he's going to beat out this journeyman veteran. No, he's the guy. He's going to start from day one, and that's what Will Howard is. I mean, Will Howard, they used a lot of capital. Politically, they moved on from Kyle McCord, and for two, they moved from Kyle McCord, and then they gave Will Howard like a very substantial NIL deal. They didn't do that for him to sit. He's the guy, and I think that the less of a facade Ryan can put on, where he says, well, it's a competition and we got to evaluate Devin and Lincoln and Air and Julian, like, the less that he does that, the better. Because again, I think it's always better when you have a clear-cut starter and you feed him the reps, and he gets used to throwing to JJ and Emeka and Carnell Tate, Innes, those guys. It'll be better for the offense. What are your thoughts, Nevada? Again, we're very good at projecting what the first day's like preseason headlines are going to be. JJ Smith will dominate. The D-line will dominate the O-line. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I think the early headline of camp is going to be Will Howard named starting quarterback. I think that's going to be the early headline, and I think for some people that's going to come as a bit of a surprise, because somehow, some way, the narrative started that Will Howard can't play or can't throw or can't. I mean, I'm not sure what it was, but somebody said something somewhere, and it just kind of got repeated and over and over again. So I think some people are going to be surprised by that. But if you listen to this podcast, you're not going to be surprised. Will Howard's a stud, really good quarterback. Has had a tremendous offseason. Really been coached for the first time. It's like, you got to understand, Kansas State, all coaching staffs are not the same, because if they were, then there'd be more parity. More teams would win, and coaching matters at the college level. Good coaches win everywhere. Bad coaches don't win anywhere, and it's hard to win. That's why these guys get paid a lot of money to take over these programs and deliver wins, because it's not easy to do. And Will Howard was barely coached at Kansas State, and now he's in a room with Ryan Day and Chip Kelly. So for the first time in his life, he's being coached at the highest level possible. And as you can imagine, when that happens, your learning curve just gets so you gain in leaps and bounds. I mean, it'd be like going for golf lessons, and you've never taken golf lessons before, and then you kind of stride in there, and there's like Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus in there, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to work with you every day for like the next 6 hours," and you're like, "Wow, I think I'm going to get way better at golf than I was before, just kind of going out to my municipal course and hitting a bucket of balls every couple of weeks." I mean, that's what it's like. I mean, he's got the quarterback whisperer and the greatest offensive mind in college football history. They're working with him, and and let alone a better scheme, way better players that he never dreamed that he'd play with, short of being the NFL. To have guys like this to throw to have a scheme like this to operate in, I think Will Howard is going to be the early story of spring football, because he's a guy that I just think is destined for great things at Ohio State in 2024, and couldn't happen to a better kid. Great team leader, a great guy, perfect quarterback for a Chip Kelly offense. And for Chip, he's never had a guy this talented before, never had an offense this talented before. And I like I said, so Will Howard's my pick. Obviously, the defense is going to dominate because they're so talented. They're so good. At this stage, defense is generally ahead of offense, because defense is about blowing stuff up, and offense is about coordination and precision, and having everybody on the same page. And that generally doesn't come with split fields, doesn't come with guys rotating, doesn't come until you've able to develop some cohesion. So I'll go with defense dominates, Will Howard, number one QB. Final answers.
Defense dominates. Like if this was on a betting app, it'd be like minus 10,000. Defense dominates. Like O-line doesn't look good. Again, because people will go there and they'll say, "I'm excited." Oh man, the line didn't look good. Well, they don't have pads on, which is a huge disadvantage for the O-line. Because the problem with when you're not in pads, because tomorrow they'll probably be in shells, will be in the uppers, is that guys, they can't really manage how hard to go. I mean, that's the thing, is like when you're in pads, it's easy because everybody's going 1,000%. You can't take it easy if you're in pads and you're going. If you're not in pads, this is something I used to hate. I used to hate being in no pads, because there's some days where you're just in jerseys and shorts, and then there's some days when you're just in uppers, which is just your shoulder pads, and then there's the other days you're in full pads. So it's like when we used to be in uppers back in the day, which is just shoulder pads, like I can never tell how hard we were allowed to really go, because I'm like we don't have our pants on, and again the pants are literally just thigh boards and knee pads, and a lot of these guys don't wear either of those. They don't wear thigh pads or knee boards anymore, and a lot of these kids they cut their pants so that they go above their knees, which I think is insane. And if I was playing, I would be cutting their kneecaps every play. Like if I saw a kid that was out there with like no coverage on their kneecaps, I'd be like, dude, I'm gonna put my helmet right through your kneecap with no pad. Oh my god, I can't imagine how bad that would be. Like hitting a sledgehammer right into your ACL. But I hated practices like tomorrow, just because I'd rather just be in full pads, because then there's no discrepancy. There's no, well, hey, I'm going to take it a little more easy. And it's not because you're lazy. It's just because, like, when you're not in pads, you worry about hurting people. You worry about if I double team somebody and, I put my helmet into his collarbone, which, again, I know that most of you guys haven't ever thought of, because you guys haven't had to block, like, a really good player. Like, I mean, I had to block, Quinn Pitcock with no pads on. It's like, well, if he doesn't have his shoulder pads on and I come off the rock like I would have in full pads, and I put the crown of my helmet into his, where I normally would if he had his pads on, I could break his collarbone. And again, like I'm not soft, and like I'm not trying to take it easy on you, but like if I'm a junior and a really good player, and Quinn Pitcock is a senior captain, first team All American, and I put him out with a broken collarbone for 8 weeks, I look like a total moron, total idiot. And that's why I hated not having pads on. And I got like the NCAA, which is the dumbest organization on earth, they mandate that, you have to have acclimation period and you can't put full pads on from day one. But I hated it. I'm just telling you, I was like, practice like tomorrow for the O-line. It's like, how hard can we double team guys when they don't have pads on? Because they'll probably have shells on, which are the little pillow pads. They're very thin versions of shoulder pads. They don't have a hard plastic shell. And it's really tough in the O-line. You can't finish guys. If you try to run the ball, you can't really double team guys because you can't really come down and hammer a guy and risk, a collarbone or something. Because a lot of times when you're low, like that's what you're aiming for is like his collarbone. So again, I know that's crazy and that's probably way too deep of a detail, but as much as you want to win the rep and look good on film, I was very cognizant. Like, I do not want to hurt my teammates, especially again, there's some teammates I didn't care if they got hurt because they're not going to play on Saturdays. But if I'd have hurt Quinn Pitcock or Mike Kudla or some of the guys I went against because I jacked them too hard, or I hit him with my helmet, or punched him in their throat. Like I used to always aim for the guys' heads and their throats. Like I don't know, I'd be beside myself because like if we lose Quinn Pitcock, man, I just saw that Quinn's one of the best defensive linemen in school history. If we lose him, man, it's going to be very tough. Or if when I had to block Darian Scott and Will Smith and Tim Anderson, those guys, you can't. You don't want to risk losing those guys when there's no pads on. But once they get the pads on, then let the chips fall where they may, and may God save you from me because my double teams are going to be pretty ferocious. Nevada, any thoughts on that? We are getting a ton of super chats, so we're going to get cranking on those.
Yeah, no, it's always interesting, the practice thing because, I'm looking at the practice and I'm like, man, I just don't want somebody to get hurt. It's like every day there's, you want guys, I want to hear about who's doing well or who's flashing, but man, I don't want to hear the bad thing. I don't want to hear, wow, this guy was carted off and, it's like, that's the thing. So just get us through fall camp without some major casualties. I hate even talking about it. I hate even bringing that energy into the world. But yeah, I just want to get through it. I want to I don't want to rush through it. I don't want to rush through this dream season because I want to savor every practice, every game. So I'm not in a hurry, but every day, let's just hope that we get through without any major injuries, so we get a chance to see this fully operational Death Star at full strength moving forward. And wreaking havoc throughout the college football world. That is my wish for 2024. And we get to enjoy the next 5.5, 6 months of nonstop football, and that's this is a glorious time because we're at peak football now. We're at the peak amount of time where we're no more waiting, no more sitting around. We are actually in football season, and it's like the summer solstice of football for the next 5.5 months. So let's go.
Yeah, and a couple of house cleaning deals. So the next Scoop meetup will be announced in the next week. We are finalizing that at the Grove City Buffalo Wild Wings, brand new location. Huge partners of ours, appreciate them. Andy Jo Taylor and her family. Obviously, you guys have Thomas. If you guys are coming to the outings, Thomas, Andy Jo, and Sarah are there from sun up to sundown. They're as good as it gets. So Andy Jo is gonna hit the tour. So go ahead and go. Make sure you guys go see her when you guys can. She's gonna be all over the state. She's gonna be down in Kentucky, everywhere. So look her up, follow her on Instagram, download her single. Appreciate the Taylors because they're on here literally every single night, and we appreciate you guys so much for being so Buckeye Scoop strong. And you guys come to every event, and Andy Jo always sings some songs, so we appreciate that. And lastly, again, if you guys have questions for Nevada, try to get him in. I might try to see if he wants to come in at the tail end of the show. But tomorrow night, we're going to have a very, very special show at 7 p.m. Troy Smith, the '06 Heisman Trophy winner and the best quarterback in Ohio State history, will be joined by Jim Tressel, who is one of the greatest coaches in the history of college football, a Buckeye legend, obviously won the national championship in '02. along with myself. We're going to have an incredible discussion, at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So you guys get your super chats, get your thoughts, get your questions lined up for those guys. I think it's going to be fantastic. I don't think they've been interviewed together. Again, you guys could probably find something from the Heisman ceremony back then, but for them to get interviewed simultaneously is going to be a treat. We're going to plug Troy's golf tournament, which will be fantastic. Very excited about that. So again, I just appreciate you guys so very much. This has been an awesome, awesome show. And tomorrow night will be a special treat. So again, I don't know how long I'll have them. I told them both an hour. But again, those guys, they're trying to promote Troy's tournament. It's called Troy's Tournament. Again, Google it. If you guys have any interest in sponsorship or buying, a foursome or a single golfing ticket, do it. I mean, because you look at the celebrities are coming. Vince Young's coming. A bunch of Heisman Trophy winners are coming. A ton of Buckeyes are coming. Tress is coming. Terrell Pryor's coming. I mean, it's kind of a laundry list of the who's who of Ohio State's sphere. So it's going to be a little turtle. It's going to be absolutely awesome. It's going to be for the Foundation NIL fundraising. So if you guys are bored, you guys want to come out and golf, I'll be in a celebrity foursome. I don't golf, but I'll have a blast with whoever I'm with. It'll be a great time. But again, I'd love to see you guys. And tomorrow night will be very special. Nevada, any thoughts before we dig into these super chats that are stacking up?
Yeah. If you get a chance to support that, man, what a treat. I mean, what a treat to have so many guys from the Heisman House there, and so many great ex-Buckeyes. I mean, heck, just Terrell Pryor would be worth the price of admission there alone. So, yeah. And tomorrow night, Trestle and Troy Smith, man, I'd fire up the super chats early on that one, because you're going to want to get in early with the questions, because I mean, you literally may never get another opportunity to talk to the two of them, because like you said, I don't think they've ever been interviewed together before. So this would be the time for sure.
Yeah, and the other thing that I will say is that I'm really going to work hard to get Terrell on the show, because I really like Terrell. I think he's a guy that has had a lot of bad things said about him, but he's a guy. I mean, he doesn't do any interviews, but I'll see TP. I almost had him a couple years ago. He had some malfunctions on his end electronically, so I think we'll get Terrell on here. I think that'd be really cool. And again, I'm going to pull every fiber. Archie's golfing in it as well, so I get Terrell, Archie. I mean, trust me, everybody going for the big bucks on that one, trying to get those guys. But it'll be absolutely awesome. So yeah, so Nevada, you get a night off tomorrow, so you can go have your strawberry and Oreo milkshake from Freddy's with a butter burger, and you can just tune in. Maybe you can send me a super chat and say, Kirk, what's it like, having to work way harder without me carrying you like I do every other night?
No, I'll ask those guys, like, if Troy was mad at you for missing blocks during the 2006 national championship game or anything like that.
Say, why did Barton throw the national championship game? Why did he suck so bad in the game? That's what we should ask. That'd be great. I was like, yes. I threw the game and I got no money for throwing the game. What a great
look out, Troy! Look out!
Run,
incoming!
Run, Troy, run! All right, Larry Daniels, the first XP and Ultra Thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. Oh boy, Nevada is not against. He's. I don't know if you want to do these, Nevada. Any thoughts on more simulcasts this season, Nevada, aka game watch parties for some of these road games? Nevada very much enjoys watching the game and eating his peanut M&Ms and mixed with his butter movie theater popcorn with not a Diet Coke, not a Coke Zero. I'm talking a full strength Coke, just to get all the sugar in his veins. Unless something's changed, like you kind of like to enjoy the games and watch them with the family and not be going into conniptions after every play like we would on a simulcast. But what are your thoughts on doing another road game watch party?
Yeah, I mean, man, that would have to. I don't know. Like I said, these games are so special to me, and they're such little treats. And not that doing a simulcast isn't fun, but man, those are grueling, guys. Those are grueling, because you got to watch the game, and you're watching it with the sound off. Because if I have the sound on, you'll hear the sound on the thing, and it messes up the broadcast. And I don't know. That'd be tough. Good idea. Not sure if we're gonna do it or not, but we will be going live after every game, soon after every game too. So while people, if you really want to know what happened during the games afterward, our post game shows are going to be off the hook for sure. So that'll be fun. But I'm not sure we'll do a game watch. Maybe, but I'm not gonna commit to that because I'm just not sure.
They are fun though. I mean, we did one for the Michigan Alabama game. It was like a 5 hour long marathon,
Oh my
and
god, I
Michigan ended
know.
up winning. So it's almost like a curse.
Uh,
I feel like we'll do like a
yeah,
road.
it
We'll do
is.
like a road. We'll do like a road watch party, and they'll end up losing. I'm like, we're never doing that
Oh
again.
yeah,
We curse the Buckeyes.
never
Jose
ever.
Alvarez, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. Um, David Myers, I'm not skipping you, but Jose literally put up another chat right after yours. I will come right back to you right after David. Jose Alvarez, thank you for the 5 again. Read an article from their beat. So delusional. Yes, they are. They've been terrible. There's no evidence that links Stalions to the cheater up north football. Was he not coordinator shadow on stuff? There. Okay. Here's the deal, Jose. And again, I appreciate you because you're obviously one of the best people in the world for watching the show and actually having, the ability to read. Because like when you read what the Michigan beat writes, it's like swimming in a sewer or swimming in, the whatever river like in Paris where they couldn't even do the big decathlon or whatever because it was so contaminated. Like that's what the beat is for Michigan. So for you to watch this show, it proves that you're obviously an excellent student of football. But then to also go down into the dredges, into the sewer, and reading what Michigan's beats, right? If there was literally an article where they said there's no evidence that links Stallions to the cheaters up north football, if that is a direct quote, like you have it in quotes, please send that to me, buckeyescoop@gmail.com. And so I can plaster that on here because, like, what other evidence do you need? He's on the sideline, and again, I don't. If that quote's real, I don't know what I'll do because he's on the sideline. He's next to the coordinator. He's next to 2 different coordinators. He's next to Mike McDonald and Jesse Minter. They both have him in his ear, and I'm like, in what universe do you think that wasn't real? Now again, this isn't hearsay. This isn't we might have saw it. This is caught in like 4K by Fox, by 10 TV, CBS, which is a Columbus affiliate. I mean, there's no denying it at this point. So if they seriously said there's no evidence that links Stallions to the cheaters at North Football, then I have no words for that. Now again, I'd have to read that and see the context of it, but it's just my opinion. Nevada, any thoughts? Again, Jose Alvarez, again, appreciate you, my friend. I read an article from their beat, so delusional. There's no evidence, in quotes, there's no evidence that links Stallions to the cheater at North Football. Was he not coordinator shadow on the staff? And again, we've broken that down on film 1,000 times. I want to pull it up right now. But your thoughts on that as I get this film ready.
Yeah, I mean, again, I have to see the context of the quote because I want to be fair because that's such a silly thing. I mean, all you have to do is go back and read the Tony Petit letter to Michigan. I mean, it talks about how this was a multi-year, sophisticated scandal, and that they have the master spreadsheet that that Stalions was in close proximity to their coaching, senior coaching staff during it. I mean, this is all in writing. I mean, this is all in writing. So, and this is before the NCAA really did their investigation. This was when the NCAA was like at the top of the first entity of the investigation. They already had this thing dead to rights. I mean, when the timeline of this thing, when the Matt Weiss thing happened, Matt Weiss, their quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, whatever he was, when he got hit with the sex crimes against minors and they accessed his computer, they found on his computer all of this stuff. And that's when this whole thing broke because when they found all these, game film signals, that it was being loaded onto a cloud that was being accessed by not just him, but multiple members of the Michigan staff. I mean, this is what was kind of the genesis for this whole thing. But the NCAA has this. I mean, so this isn't, Nevada and Kirk kind of speculating. I mean, this is all in writing. This is all online. This is all, fully accessible for people to read. And, we've published it, many, many times. But yeah, no, I mean, they're trying to distance themselves from Stalions. Stalions is he's going to come on this documentary, I would imagine, and say that nobody knew. I was a rogue agent. Nobody knew anything. And it's just, the whole thing's just going to sound silly. because rogue agents, independent operators don't get the chair of cheer right next to the defensive coordinator during the Ohio State game, right as you're telling him plays. They just don't. He's literally standing right next to him, whispering in Minter's ear. I mean, like you could see it in real time.
Yeah.
You see it. So, this isn't some sort of whodunit. We have it all on videotape. This is the most videotaped caper in the history of capers. So no, they got him.
Like he's literally, I mean, he's staring at the signaler on Ohio State sideline. He's saying run right. You can see his lips. This isn't like some crazy, and he's right. Again, he leans in. Again, this is like so stupid. I have to say this so many times. He like leans in. He's right behind him, making the call. This is during a look back. So a look back is when they're changing the plays. And then he looks, again, Connor looks back over here, looks back over at him. Like you see him like as he glances off the thing. I'll do it in slow-mo because we have slow-mo. Look at that. Looks back at him, tell him the story, tell him the deal. I mean, again, he is like, it's almost like he's got one of those, like when you see those toddlers that are going to end up being like, mass murderers, and they've got the little, they've got like the little thing on their wrist, and their parents got them. It's like a little leash that they drag them through the mall. Like that's what it's like. He's got that little leash on him, and again, they're looking at these guys are looking back. Connor Stalions is like right in this little vicinity, and he's looking over here at the signals. You got Dewan, you got Paris, you got Cade. They're all looking back at the signals. He's picking the signals. Again, you can see the whole crew over here. They're looking at the signals. They're picking the signals. And again, they get the play in. And like I said, this is the best ever because this is just like a little simple run to the right. And these safeties, again, with a bunch of first-round wide receivers, as soon as the ball is snapped, they're coming forward. There isn't a single read in the entire play. They're just like, you know what? We got first rounder. We're not even going to pay attention to them. We're coming straight up. We got the edge coming. We got the backer triggering. So what's the picture look like? Again, this is what people are like, well, the O-line sucks and we suck. We can't block anybody. We're not any good in the running game. Well, look at this photo. Like, what are you supposed to do? It basically turns into cover zero. Everybody's manned up across the board, and they've got, look at this box. I mean, you got 8 guys in the box versus 6 blockers. You have no chance. Why? Because they're cheating. And again, people are like, well, you still got to stop the play. Okay, it's a run to the right, and you've got 8 guys here versus 6. So even if all 6 guys get perfect blocks, there's still 2 free guys that are Michigan level defenders. So we got everything covered. Guy here, guy here. It's over. You have no chance. So again, that's the power of sign stealing, folks. And again, I know people that don't understand football that frankly are dense and stupid. They don't realize that's the greatest advantage you could ever have. Like if you said, Kirk, I will make you, like if a genie appeared and said, Kirk, I'm going to let you be a football coach. You could be a defensive coordinator. I'm going to tell you what every single play is going to be. I'd be like, I'll never miss. Unless you play someone that's just way better than we are, that's fine. But if 65% of the plays I know it's coming and we can stop it, we'll stop the entire running game because we'll have too many bodies. And then if they have some monster like Marvin Harrison Jr. out there and he makes a play, that's fine. That's football. But again, if you have a chance to double team a guy because that's where it's going, that gives you a way better chance than if you're just singled up or you're just guessing. Because again, in general in football, it's a lot of guessing. It's a lot of trying to read tendencies, live in game, teams break tendencies. So it's really how good are you on the fly. And that's why, like Jim Knowles last year when they were second in the nation in total defense, like he was spectacular. He figured out how to read teams. He figured out how to call a good game. And these coaches are always their own biggest critic because there's always calls that they wish they could get back. And the next day they self-scout themselves. When you're Jim Knowles and you're sitting there running the film with the coaching staff grading the players, like you're like, man, why did I call that? That's stupid. Why was I that aggressive? Why was I that passive? But when all of a sudden you've got a guy that tells you what's coming, I mean, it's like, it's the greatest thing in the world. So, again, it's my opinion, and I know that opinion's right. Because, again, I there's nothing, if you want to illuminate how stupid you are, tell me that, oh, it didn't matter that they knew what was coming. You saw how to stop it. I'm like, okay, just go away. Go far, far away from me, because that is the dumbest thing you could ever say to a football coach is we know exactly what your play is. but you still got to stop it because that's just impossibly stupid. John Gonzo, 911, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. A lot of beat writers don't understand the NCAA process. Link to NCAA 11-page details. All punishment will happen in 2025. I mean, I don't know when it's going to drop, but I know that the NCAA moves very slowly when it comes to this stuff. And again, they generally appoint like some third-party compliance director from a different school to analyze everything, collect the data. You know, you got to interview all these people. You got to, it's a huge process when it's something this deep. This isn't like a, hey, you know, you're the murderer. We found the smoking gun. You're going to jail, no bond, and a quick trial. This is like this takes a lot of time because there's a lot of evidence they have to collect from Michigan. And again, Michigan not cooperating makes it a much slower process, in my opinion. But Nevada, your thoughts? Jake Gonzo 911. Again, thanks for the 10. Says a lot of beat writers don't understand the NCAA process. Link to the NCAA 11-page details. All punishment will happen in 2025. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's right. I mean, you have to remember that. I mean, if the notice of allegations drop tomorrow, like tomorrow, if it came tonight during the show, if they brought it over to your house, Kirk, and you publish it on the air, there's still a period of time for Michigan to respond. And then there's a period of time for them to schedule a hearing. And then they schedule a hearing. And then they go to that. And then they go to the penalty phase. I mean, it takes time. And so I know people, you want this to be like a episode of Law and Order where everything gets wrapped up in 60 minutes, but it just doesn't work that way. And anytime that you've got stuff where, I mean, you're talking about fines. The fine alone on this thing could be $10 million. A postseason, what does a postseason ban cost Michigan? I mean, tens of millions of dollars. So it's like they got to get this right. This isn't just the playtime where they're just going to go out there and just run through something like that. They've got to be right. They've got to have this thing, beyond any question. Because even though I don't think Michigan's going to challenge this thing legally, because Michigan's threatened to do that through this entire thing. Man, go back to the beginning of times. Oh, Michigan's going to fight. They'll fight and fight. And nothing happened. They've capitulated at every turn because there's in these situations where you've got Big Ten commissioners, you got NCAA, they've got absolute authority over you. They can do anything, but they don't want to do anything arbitrary. They don't want to do anything capricious. They've got to do something that's in line with previous precedent. They want to follow the law, so that there's no question, and that takes time. And so, yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I personally don't see any way that the postseason ban is affected in 2024 unless negotiated settlement and Michigan tries to self-impose, which frankly I think would be the smart thing to do. I think Michigan to do it. I just don't know if Ward Manuel's got the cojones to do that. And but that would be the smart move. The smart move would be self-imposed, kind of with the way that Arizona State did, the way that Ohio State should have done. Get ahead of this thing. The quicker you do that, the quicker you get it behind you, the quicker you can kind of return to normalcy. But I think Michigan is so delusional about this, and their fan base is so delusional. I mean, you've literally got Michigan people believing that nothing is going to happen. So they've got to get them from nothing is going to happen to let's self-impose a bowl ban this year so we get through the first year of the 2-year bowl ban or 3-year bowl ban. And I shouldn't keep saying bowl ban, postseason ban, because the postseason ban covers the playoff, covers any bowls, covers any postseason activity. But I just don't think they're mentally there yet. But 2025 is probably right.
Totally agree. All right, Nevada, David Myers again. Thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Nevada said on his night off, as part of Michigan's defense for this, wasn't Connor Stalions supposed to be at the team dinner on Friday, so not a night off. So I'll answer this just because I have more intel on this than Nevada would, just because I've lived it. When you're a guy at Connor's level, you generally do not travel with the team. And you guys say, well, hang on, Kirk. It was a home game. But even if it's a home game, there's a travel squad. So the travel squad is 70 or 80. It might be 80 now. It used to be 70. And those are the guys that go to the team dinner. And those are the guys that go to the hotel and do the meetings and all that. So if you're not on the travel squad, like when I was a freshman and we had home games later in the season, when I was officially redshirted, I did not travel. So I did not go to the Ohio State golf course. I did not have the meal. I didn't have to go to the hotel. I'd sit in the dorm like a douchebag and wait for the game the next day. And then I'd walk over to the stadium in my flip flops and sit at my locker and get dressed in my gear and go out. We'd play a game, and I knew I wasn't getting in the game, so I didn't really care. But it is what it is when you're redshirted. But generally, a guy in Connor's position, he's not an intern, but he's maybe a small step above an intern because he's a little bit older. He's not a student assistant. But in general, like those guys are on call. Like our interns that weren't at the dinner in general were on call. They were usually at the football building adjusting if we had something on a wristband that needed change or if we had to get ahead on the scouting stuff. Usually those guys would work on Fridays for a little bit, not till 10, but they could get out of there by 8. So, Connor probably had some sort of responsibility that he had to do before the Michigan game on a Friday night. Definitely not to the point where you could just go take off and go watch another game. Like it's not like you could, again, you might be able to slide that if you get all your work completed, but you still have to ask permission. You'd have to ask somebody, hey, do you mind if I go to the Michigan State game because my nephew plays for Michigan State? Or, hey, would you mind if I go to the Dublin Jerome football game because my little brother's playing or whatever? Like, and in general, like a guy like Tress would like, okay, you got all your work done. You're not on the travel party, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have anything like real to do, then usually you're on call and you're ready to work. So Connor Stalions had to ask somebody for permission to get out of whatever responsibility he had on that Friday night. He had to ask somebody. And again, unless Michigan is totally different from Ohio State, which I don't think they are. I think they're very similar programs. Same kind of purse string, same type of size of support staff. You'd normally have to ask. And again, it would be very interesting to say if he said, hey, I need to go to this game, or if he just said, hey, I need to go do something else. Because again, that would be very compelling if he said, hey, I got to go to the Michigan State Central Michigan game versus, hey, I got to go get my brows done or get my eyelashes done or whatever, like whatever a little girl like Connor Stalions does, like something like that. So it would be interesting to see if he actually said what he was really going to do, or if he just said he needed the night off or he had some sort of different errand to run. Nevada, your thoughts? Again, David Myers, thank you for the 5, says Nevada said on his night off as part of the Michigan's defense for Connor Stalions, wasn't Connor supposed to be at the team dinner on Friday? So not a night off. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, look, I was literally trying to parrot the Michigan party line and the thing. I think it's preposterous. Of course, on a Friday night before a game on Saturday, you don't have any free time when you're in that position. And the idea that you're available then to do freelancing work for other teams or something. I mean, the whole thing is just silly. It's a silly thing. So yeah, I don't want to come across that I was trying to present that as my argument. That was Michigan's argument. No, on Friday night before a game, you don't have time off. You're not just, hey, I'm going to go see Deadpool and Wolverine tonight and miss the thing. Like you got to go, and and if you're not going, you better have a good excuse why you're not going, and to go and disguise yourself as a Central Michigan coach when you're a full-time employee. You are a full-time salaried employee of the University of Michigan, and you're dressed up like a Central Michigan coach on the sideline of the Michigan State game. I just don't have words. And for anybody at Michigan, for anybody any responsible party that's got viewers, listeners, followers, whatever, to try to play this off like this isn't a big deal, that's a very big deal. That alone, forget everything else. That alone would be a very big deal. But the good news is there's just so much more.
Well, I think that. Like when you look at that, there are very stringent restrictions in place if you are an employee, even if you're a student assistant, even if you're unpaid, but you're a part of the program. Like you can't say I'm an unpaid intern, student, freshman, kid who's a student assistant in the football program. You're not allowed to go watch a high school football game. You're not, because again, like what happens is, and again, with abuse comes control. And again, in some schools in the SEC or whatever, they'd have 30 student assistants, and they would say, okay, you go watch, you know, you go watch Jakeem Stewart tonight. Two of you guys go wear Ole Miss you go wear Ole Miss polos with our khaki pants and hold a notepad and have your little visor on that says Ole Miss, and you make sure that Jakeem sees you and he sees that Ole Miss cares about him and they're scouting him. And so, it got to the point where the NCAA basically banned that if you're associated with a football program, unless your son is playing or a direct relative is playing in the game, you can't just go to any game unless you're accountable coach. So if you're one of the 10 assistants that are like accountable coaches that are allowed to go on the road and recruit, you can do it. But again, before they put that rule in, because I was not legally allowed to go watch a high school football game as a quality control coach at Ohio State. I remember it. Again, this is a guy, I've taken my compliance tests, year over year, 3 years in a row, passed it every time. So I know all the rules. I mean, and again, they've adjusted a little bit over the years, but Connor Stalions he's not allowed to go to a high school football game, let alone, a conference rivals game, like on a Friday night. Like that is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. And again, I would never think to do it because I'm gigantic and people would recognize me and see me. But like for him to do it is insanity. And again, the guy who obviously the quarterback's coach that got whacked for letting him in, like that was, talk about death sentence, talk about stupid. You letting that guy on the sideline. It's just, anybody with a brain knows that that's not going to end well in the era of 4K cameras. Pope Panda, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Long time listener. First time super chat. Appreciate you, my man. Michigan podcast say the team up north will fight NCAA. Good, I say. The longer it drags out, the worse they recruit. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Nevada, at some point when they've got this mountain of evidence and you're going to get smashed, at what point is it better just to relent, take the punishment, take the medicine that's probably not very good tasting, and, just say, hey, we screwed up. We'll take the punishment. We'll eat crow for a couple years. Again, it was kind of like with the Penn State Paterno thing. Like they were really bad for a couple of the O'Brien years, and then they're pretty good now, decent, above average, I'd say. I'd say that they've probably recovered to the levels they're at prior to the Sandusky sanctions, penalties, scholarship reductions. I don't know. I don't know if fighting the NCAA on this is going to end up well for Michigan. I know it's going to cost a lot of money, and I think that the longer it goes on, the worse it is for recruiting. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, again, you have to understand this is all kabuki theaters. This is all posturing. This is all, remember, this is the same thing they said about we'll fight the Harbaugh thing. He'll never serve a suspension and we'll get him that extension and he's coming back and he's coaching. I mean, everything they've said has been wrong. So let me tell you what's really going on right now with Michigan. Right now, Ward Manuel and the Michigan people are going to the NCAA and saying, man, we are sorry. We are sorry. Those guys were bad actors. What can we do to get this thing behind us? They are so cowed right now by the NCAA and the fear of what's coming. So the idea that they're going to strike some sort of defiant pose or something like that, it's all posturing. It's all posturing, and you notice you're not hearing it out of Ward Manuel. What you're hearing about out of Ward Manuel now, when he does address it, is we're just going to have to address it. We're just going to have to take it head on and deal with it as it comes. I mean, that's what he's saying. He's not being defiant. He's not going to, because he knows that ain't going to work. The only ones being defiant or talking about fighting or whatever it is are these idiot Geppetto, beat writers for LockedOnStupidityWolverine.com or whatever it is that are going out there going, we're going to fight it. We're going to fight it. No, there's no fight. And if I thought you guys can't have it both ways. You can't say that there's nothing and then there's going to be a fight. Why would there be a fight if there was nothing? So, Michigan knows the hires up at Michigan, the board of trustees, the senior levels, people that they know it's coming, and they are not being defiant with the incident. They're trying to cooperate as much as they can now. The problem is, there's been so much lack of cooperation by employees, by Connor Stalions, by Chris Partridge, by Jim Hardball. I mean, there's been so much lack of cooperation by them that no matter what they say right now, the NCAA is still ticked. So yes, don't listen to the podcaster. They just don't have this one right.
There's no fight, but there is a fight, but there is no fight. There's nothing to fight over
No
because there's
fight.
nothing going on. I'm like,
Fight, fight,
okay,
fight, 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 fight.
stop.
Yeah.
Put the money up, guys.
Exactly.
Escrow. Run for
No.
the hills. Sean Schrock, thank you, my friend. Appreciate you, brother. As always, thank you for being an ultra member. Thank you for the 5. Well, Howard's a gamer. We've been saying it. He can make the plays he needs to. They didn't pay him all that money for him to sit on the bench. Great show, like always. Appreciate you, Sean. You're the absolute best. Appreciate you, brother. I mean, guys, let's go watch. Here's the deal. When the show's over and it's time to go make an ice cream sundae and go sit on the couch and watch TV and veg out for a little bit, go on YouTube, watch Will Howard versus Texas, and then go watch Will Howard versus Missouri and say, okay, I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight because those are two teams that are really good. Texas playoff team. Missouri's a team that spanked us. Pretty good in both those games. Did he have a couple picks? Yeah, sure. Did he have inferior athletes to both those teams? Not even close to the same universe of the athlete that Texas had versus K-State and Missouri had versus K-State. So he was kind of like a one-man army out there, and I loved that tape. I loved watching it. And now he's going to have like legit weapons. So again, I love the direction of Will Howard. I think that I wouldn't bet a lot, but I would bet he ends up being a captain. Just because, he's obviously recent because he got here in January, but, I think that when you have a great team, you have to have the quarterback be a captain. He's going to be the starting quarterback. It's over. But God, you have a lot of really good captains on offense and defense, a lot of incumbents that have been here for a long time. So that'll be interesting. But I think that the really good Ohio State teams of the past have had a quarterback at captain. So I think that it'll be interesting. But again, the last 2 national championships, as I say that, the starting quarterback was not a captain. So something to read into. Maybe not. 02, Craig wasn't. 14, Cardell wasn't. JT was, but Cardell wasn't. But so it'll be interesting. Nevada, Sean Schrock, again, thanks for the 5. Thanks for being ultra members. Well, says Will Howard's a gamer. He can make plays he needs to. They didn't pay him all the money for him to sit on the bench. Great show as always. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, he is a gamer. And you look at those games that you mentioned. Go watch the first interception in Texas. He hits the guy right in the hands, and the guy like pops the ball up, and it gets intercepted. It's like, okay, interception, turnover. I mean, he put the ball exactly where it needed to be. So, not all interceptions are created equal. Playing with inferior talent does matter. Playing with better players can really make you look better. Look at Michael Penix. Look at Bo Nix, and we've gone through the list of guys. But it's so interesting because this narrative that's around Will Howard. How come Dylan Gabriel doesn't get that treatment? And Dylan Gabriel's kind of followed a similar trajectory, and some people say he was chased out of his last stop and not going to start because the next guy there. I mean, but they don't talk about that with Dylan Gabriel, but it's only with Will Howard. So I don't really get it. I don't really get the. I won't say it's Will Howard slander, but it's certainly people are discounting him. But I like that because I think the more people have kind of lowered their expectations about Will Howard, I think it's the easier they're going to be when they accept it. And I think a lot of people are going to be really, really surprised about how good this guy is.
I mean, he won a conference championship. Kyle McCord never did. Big 12 champ. I mean, he's got a Big 12 championship ring. So I mean, that's impressive to do at K-State when you have to go through Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma State. I mean, there's like Iowa State was real for a few years. I mean, you gotta kind of figure when you can win with a lesser amount of talent, it's impressive. Gary Tate, thanks for the 5. Why? God, here we go today. You want to talk about a softball? Here's a softball. Why is Paul Feinbaum always hating on OSU? Same with Herb Street. You can't tell that he ever played for us. Is it that ESPN is about the SEC? Nevada, I'll let you take this first before I get the flamethrower out.
Yeah, I mean, you basically just kind of go for the whatever gets viewers. I mean, Ohio State's big business. Ohio State fans, man, when they love it when you talk good about them. They get even more fired up when you talk bad about them. So for that just checks every single box. You get the Ohio State fans. Obviously, that's catnip to everybody who's competing with Ohio State. So, it's a compliment. When people are talking about you in life, it's a compliment because people don't talk about losers. They only talk about winners. They only want to be winners. That's why people talk about the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Buckeyes. They don't talk about the Washington Nationals or some of these other irrelevant teams. So if in life, if you have people talking about you, take it as a compliment. Know that it's the highest form of praise that you can get. And so when he does that, when Feinbaum does that, I just laugh it off because I know it's all part of the game.
I totally agree. Again, Paul Feinbaum is paid a lot of money by ESPN, and he has to get ratings. So the cheapest way to get ratings when you're an SEC honk is to go after Ohio State. Ohio State is the gorilla that they're kind of the last beacon. Before Michigan finally stepped up after 27 years, like they were basically the only thing between the SEC and a national championship like every single year. So they got to go after Ohio State. They're the biggest competitor. They're an SEC team in the North. They're the only one really in the North. So Feinbaum goes after him. Herbstreit goes after him. ESPN is in bed with the SEC. It's been a long time coming. It's what they do. Again, because this is war. I mean, you look at the networks. I mean, look at how they're aligned: CBS, Fox, Big Ten. You look at ESPN, straight SEC. SEC. They own the SEC network. They're in bed with the SEC. They're vested in the SEC. They actively root for the SEC, which again, like if I ran Ohio State, I would limit the access to the ESPN guys to Ohio State because I'm like, guys, if you're not going to give us favorable coverage, you're not going to ever have our backs, and you're going to be the first people to crucify us at any time anything goes wrong. Like after the Jim Tressel stuff, if I was the SID, I'd have never let those guys in our building again. So you guys could go cover Auburn and Vanderbilt and Arkansas and Mississippi State. Go try to make your bones there, but you're not allowed in this building. But again, that's what real people would do. Because again, I'm sick of what they do, sick of their shtick. I was so happy that Big Noon Kickoff smashed those guys because College Game Day has never been more devoid of talent, which is why they have to have Pat McAfee on now because Pat is a shock jock, clownish. He hasn't said an intelligent thing yet in the history of his show, but he's funny and he has a little shtick and people like cheap, dumb humor, and he's made a fortune doing that. But you never have learned anything listening to Pat McAfee interview anybody, talk about anybody. And again, that's not jealousy, but that's just his shtick. His shtick is he's like Doink the Clown, and people laugh at it. That's kind of what he is. So, and that's why ESPN has to bend the knee to bring Pat McAfee back so that they can have some semblance of ratings. Because when you wheel out Kirk Herbstreit, who frankly isn't as good as he used to be, Desmond Howard, who's maybe the worst analyst in the history of sports. And I'm not just talking football, I'm talking all sports. Straight inept. They got rid of Pollock, who was the best guy they had on the entire show. Aaron Andrews fled the coop for Fox to make more money. It's just completely devoid of talent. And that's why, thank God, Urban's on Big Noon Kickoff, because he's wiped the floor with those guys over the last few years. And that's why the ratings speak the way they do. All right, Nevada, on to David Kennedy. Thank you for the 50. Appreciate you, brother. That's very generous. Can you help me with a Christmas gift for my kids? If I give you film of Gene Smith tapping out for Rudy, taken by Connor Stalions' dad, and my eternal gratitude, could you help me get a pic of an 06 OSU Michigan game with my kids, signed by Troy and Tress? Yeah, of course. I mean, if you send it to me, I will move heaven and earth to Troy's up in Cleveland and Tress is in Medina. So I'll do everything I can to FedEx it around the state and get that done for you. So just let me know. Nevada, can you help me with a Christmas gift for my kids? If I give you a film of Gene Smith tapping out for Rudy, taken by Connor Stalions' dad, could you help me get a pic of the 06 OSU Minnesota game? Which, by the way, our grass that day was atrocious. It was so bad. So bad. That's one of the last games we ever had with grass. Could I get that photo signed with Tress and Troy? Nevada OH? Yeah, I'll get it done. What are your thoughts about it?
I mean, yeah, that's First of all, very generous. Thank you so much. We're always glad to help out on this stuff. And Kirk is great. Kirk, you guys have no idea how much little stuff Kirk does all the time for folks like this. And he does it all the time, and he doesn't make a big deal out of it. And he doesn't put it on the show or put it on Twitter or something. But he helps folks out all the time. And I know he genuinely likes doing this stuff like this. So I'm not trying to volunteer him for it, but he's got a big heart for a big cuddly bear. And I know if you send him a picture, like you said, he will raise heaven and earth to get it signed. Especially since Gene Smith was the guy that was subbed out for Rudy. I'm telling you, that happened.
Will you stop telling people I'm a nice guy? You're ruining my rep.
You are.
You know how hard I've worked to craft this. I'm a total a-hole. I'm a total bad guy. Don't like me. He's bad. He does too many bad things. Goes to too many happy hours. Like, we can't have him. He can't be a good podcaster. We shouldn't watch him. Like, come on. Don't tell them I'm a nice guy. Let them believe the narrative that three dumb people spread. Oh, he's a bad guy. I'm like, please give me a break. My karma supernova will eat you alive. Jim Jackson, what's up, brother? I appreciate you. Thank you for the 5. Bert K. Are we losing momentum for David Sanders, Nevada OH?
I
don't think so. I mean, again, I mean, I know he went to Nebraska, which is like going to Nebraska is like going to, like, when you've seen Terminator 2 and they showed Judgment Day at the beginning of the thing, and there's like dead skulls and there's like a nuclear fire wave that goes over the playground and stuff. That's what Lincoln, Nebraska's like. Very nice people. There is nothing to do there. I mean, absolutely nothing to do. So, I mean, if he goes there, great. Tennessee, whatever. I mean, they're the number 2 right now. Ohio State's leading. Again, if this kid's serious about football and he wants to be the next Paris Johnson, why not just get right on the Paris Johnson railroad tracks and go right to the top? Because that's what he could do. So I think I don't think we're losing momentum. Nevada, your thoughts. Again, Jim, I hope you're doing good. I hope that your wife is doing well as well. Thank you for the 5. Bert K, are we losing momentum for David Sanders? Your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, no, it's really not the way this stuff works. I mean, especially when you've got a kid that's got an announcement date. These big time guys, when they set an announcement that they know what they're going to do, and what I'd say is nothing's changed. I think everything with David Sanders' recruitment is exactly where it was 2 weeks ago, where it was 4 weeks ago, where it was frankly 6 weeks ago. So no, I don't think anything's changed. Ohio State loves their position. Ohio State's very secure in where they're at, and I mean, we'll see. Like you said, if he's serious about football, he'll be a Buckeye. If he's not, and everything he said was a lie, then he won't. But I think this one has. I mean, Ohio State's so secure in their position on this one. I think they get this one over the goal line.
Totally agree, Dave Mathis. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for the 10. Late to the show, but if Day would have flat out announced Howard as the starter, do you think Brown would have hit the portal? Do you think Brown thinks he had a legit chance to start at all? Nevada OH? Well, here's the thing. I don't think Devin had many great offers as to where to transfer to. I think he could have gone to Iowa and started there, which is like going to, I mean, I don't know. That's like if you're a quarterback, that's like going to like a North Korean death camp for your pro prospects because you're not going to get to the league at Iowa. I think that he probably recalibrated his thoughts because Kyle McCord was 3rd team All Big Ten. Started for us. He was 1 throw away against the Michigan game from potentially taking us to the playoffs, and he hit the open market. And I think that he would have thought he'd have way bigger suitors. And he ended up at Syracuse. So that was our starter last year at the Ohio State. All that film, all those accolades, all those big gaudy numbers. And again, Kyle McCord, I have nothing against him. I thought he stunk. I have nothing personal against him. I just don't think you can win a championship with a guy like Kyle McCord. Like, you have to have like a real difference maker at quarterback. You can't just have a guy who's just a guy at a place like Ohio State. So he ends up at Syracuse. And so, Devin, who couldn't beat that guy out, where is he going to end up? Iowa or less. So, I think it's better to stick here, see if you can beat Will Howard out, which isn't going to happen, And maybe Will gets hurt. I mean, again, there's injuries happen in football, especially when you're running the quarterback. If something happens to him, you're the guy. You got this great supporting cast. You love your teammates. It's a great city, great system. And the worst case scenario is that next winter, when winter bowl practice starts before the playoffs, like you're kind of competing with Julian Sain to be the starting quarterback for 2025. Going into spring, he's probably, if you said, Kirk, what are the betting odds on who's going to take the first snap the first day of spring practice in 2025? I said Devin Brown's going to be a huge favorite at this point. Again, unless he vomits all over himself in fall camp and is a bad teammate, which I know he's not, because the kids love him. I mean, he's very well regarded. He's a little bit of a different bird. I mean, he's much different. I mean, the kids loved Kyle McCord too, so it wasn't like it was one of them was a turd. They're both good kids. Devin's kind of a different bird. But he's got a real shot to potentially start next year. I mean, he's going to have 4 years in the offense, and he'll know it like the back of his hand by then. So he's going to have fierce competition from Julian Sayin. If Lincoln sticks, if Air sticks, if they bring in a portal guy, who knows? Because again, I don't think Ryan's ever going to sit pat on the quarterback room if he's not convinced it's going to be great. So I think that I think Ryan. There's no advantage to Ryan announcing that Will Howard's going to be the starting quarterback in the spring, because obviously you want to keep Devin here, but I also don't think Devin had great options to transfer to. So I think it's kind of a double. There's like two layers to why he's still here, and plus, like I think he's got a good shot to start next year when he'll be older, more veteran, complete control of the offense, and he's gonna have impossibly good talent around him. He's gonna have JJ in year 2, Innocent Tate year 3. James Peoples is a starting running back, good O-line, playing in the Big Ten. Like, I mean, I just think that it's better to stick it out there than to make a rash decision and end up at Iowa throwing to a bunch of 2-star wide receivers that couldn't separate from me after I ate a Jersey Mike's cheesesteak. That's my opinion. Nevada, your thoughts. Dave says, if Friday would have flat out announced Howard as the starter, do you think Devin Brown would have hit the portal? And do you think that Devin Brown thinks he has a legit chance to start at all? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think we're going to need Devin Brown this year. I mean, if history's any guide, we're going to need the backup quarterback in real time to win us a game this year, especially with a 16 or 17 game schedule. So, I think Devin Brown's got a lot of confidence in himself. You got to remember, at this point in Craig Krenzel's career, Craig Krenzel was asking to miss a game to be in his sister's wedding. And you remember that famous thing where it's like, and then afterwards they.
I'll say that's the dumbest thing I've ever. I remember that. I was at that game. That was in 01, I think, and he literally had to go to his sister's wedding instead of being at a game. And again, like, for one, I would just tell my sister she's an idiot, and I love my sister. My sister is one of my. I mean, she's one of the 2 favorite people in the world, and like I'd say you're an idiot. What's wrong? And the reason that happened was because I believe with like 99% certainty, it was because it was 2001. I believe it was 9/11, and I believe that like they moved a game that was on a bye week to that week, or it was something like that, or they had to like reschedule.
Correct. That's exactly right. That's exactly
they had to reschedule a game that was on a bye week. So she planned it around the Ohio State bye week, but then they shifted the game to make up for the game, whatever game it was. I don't know if it's like San Diego or something like that. So it was a very weird circumstance, but even so, it's like, dude, like I'd send flyers. You know me, like I don't like going to my friends' weddings. I just send them money and say, okay, I'm off the hook. I don't have to go be miserable and eat beef stroganoff and listen to them play the Cupid Shuffle, where I want to like kill myself listening to this terrible DJ play corny music. I'd rather sit at my house and podcast than do that trash. But that's just me. And again, maybe I'm just a curmudgeon, but it is what it is. And you ask Kim, like, how many weddings I've gone to that, hey, do you want to? No, she doesn't even ask anymore. Take your friend. I don't want to go. It's not my thing. I don't need to eat beef stroganoff or whatever cold chicken thing they're going to give me and listen to the Cupid Shuffle for the 8 millionth time. I'm good. So that's just my opinion. Get Nevada back in here. I think his phone's probably melting again. But I know what you're saying about Craig Krenzel, and I was just railing on the stupidity of missing a game for a wedding, for your sister's wedding. Even if my sister got married and something like that happened, there's no chance in a billion years she'd even ask me, because she'd know better. But I was also starting way younger than that. Like, I'm not gonna, I don't know. Even though I was redshirting, like, I'm not gonna go to a wedding over a football game that I'm supposed to be in. That's my opinion. Nevada, any other thoughts before we move on to the next one?
Well, no, I think the point is, look, Devin Brown's got a long term view of this, and it's kind of it's not the way that a lot of people look at the world, but I mean, look at Jordan Love. Jordan Love is now the highest paid quarterback in football.
Yeah.
And had he been forced to start his first year coming right out of college, he might be out of the NFL now, or he certainly wouldn't be where he is. But he had the luxury of sitting behind, learning the offense, learning from a pro, taking your time, getting yourself ready. And then when he was ready, he was able to ball out. Well, I think for Devin, it's got kind of a similar approach. He's still really young in his college football career. Will Howard is 100% gone next year. The quarterback job is wide open. You got to beat out Julian Sand, yeah, but you're going to beat out somebody somewhere. And if you can do that, then you can go forward in terms of doing it. So I think for Devin, I think he's got a long term view of this. And I mean, I know he's got a long term view of this, and I don't think it's crazy talk because sometimes sitting, watching, waiting for your time is the best thing to do because being thrown out there before you're ready, no bueno.
Totally agree, Jose Alvarez. I got your email. I appreciate you, man. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. Oop, apologize. So check your email. Excuse grammar, character limits. Yeah, I got your rivals thing that the Michigan guy wrote. So we'll talk about it tomorrow because I want Nevada to read it. But I appreciate you, my friend. They are very stupid. I read it and I was like, wow, this will be bad. Tom Gombar, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. God, I hope the NCAA drops the notice of allegation before the stupid Netflix special. Go Bucks, Nevada OH. I don't think that they're worried about a Netflix special just because that'll be so one-sided. It'll be stupid. I mean, Connor Sounds is gonna. If I had to guess what his strategy is gonna be, is like he's gonna say it was all me. Nobody knew anything. They just thought that I watched a lot of film, and they had no idea that I was advanced scouting. I think if I had to guess, he's gonna try to kind of, take the whole brunt of it because his coaching career is over, and he's got to say something because they're not going to pay him, $100,000 or they're paying him to $50,000, whatever. Nevada, you've been in this business before with the documentaries. Whatever they end up paying him, like he's got to say something, but I don't think he's not gonna implicate anybody. He's gonna say, "Oh, I just did it," and they thought that I just really knew how to study film really good, and blah 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 blah. So I'm not really excited about the Netflix thing. I'm sure I'll watch it, but it's not going to be some gotcha breaking. Oh my God, I can't believe that he said that thing. I think he's just going to sit there and, try to make himself look in the best light possible and also try to keep Michigan out of the spotlight as much as possible. Nevada, again, Tom Gombar, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my dude. He says, God, I hope this NCAA, the NCAA drops the notice of allegations before the stupid Netflix special. Go Bucks, Nevada OH. Nevada, I don't think there's going to be any correlation, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, it would be fun if it beat them. I mean, one thing that concerns me about this documentary is it's being done by the people that did Malice at the Palace, whatever it was, and so you look at that and you kind of go, well, why should that bother you, Nevada? And I'm just like, well, that was the Detroit Pistons. So now it's like you're doing the Detroit Pistons, and now you're doing a Michigan signs. I mean, it just seems kind of Michigan centric. This production company. I mean, like the first 2 stories you do are both from the state of Michigan. Um, that just gives me now again. I could take 3 minutes and IMDb these guys that are producing it and see where they're from and whatever. But I just have a hunch. Yeah, these are Michigan guys in terms of doing this, and we'll see how it comes out. I mean, the problem with the lone wolf thing is all this stuff that he was doing was on the cloud, and multiple Michigan coaches were accessing this. So, and the NCAA has that. The NCAA absolutely has that. So not that the lone wolf thing held any water anyway, because Harbaugh was ultimately responsible and the school's ultimately responsible for its employees. It's kind of like a Sarbanes-Oxley thing where you're responsible as a CEO for anything that's signed underneath you, so you can't just deny involvement in some sort of financial scandal. It's the same thing with football scandals. They're ultimately responsible for it, but yeah, it'll be the documentary is just going to be. I'm looking at it almost like a comedy show, and if it's anything serious, I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I have very low expectations on that. I really do. SC Buckeye, thanks for the deuce. Thanks Kirk, Nevada, Kim, Devin for the greatest show. Don't forget Akeem. Akeem is excellent as well. Appreciate our moderators, Kim, Devin, and Akeem. You guys are absolute monsters, and you guys keep the chat nice and clean, so thank you for that. Last super chat, Nevada. We can wrap this show up. Any final thoughts on training camp eve?
I'm just so excited. I mean, this postseason has flown by. I am so excited about seeing this 2020. I'm telling you, these guys are. This is a focus group, and I know people, like they think that's true every year. Oh, they're focused. Oh, they're on a mission. This one's special, man. This one's special, given everything that's kind of gone on, everything that's been, these guys have been up against, all the criticism they've received, and now they get it's like Revenge Tour 2024 Ohio State edition. I think this is going to be glorious, and I can't wait. But enjoy every minute of it because the seasons go by too fast. That's for sure.
Yeah, especially seasons like this, Nevada. Like that's what we always stress is like we don't always have teams that are. There's a lot of teams in Ohio State history over the last few years that they talk about winning a national championship, and then there's a team like this year where it's like you have to win a national championship. Again, I was on that '05 team. Like when we got to camp, it was like we have to win a national championship. We got to go through Texas, and obviously we failed there. We lost by a point. But there's certain teams where it's like it's like that 15 team. That the 05 team. There's some teams that are just loaded, and that's like what this team is. Except I honestly think this is the most talented team we've ever had. And the people I've talked to that are in that building, they agree with me. So we'll wrap this thing up. As always, we appreciate you guys for kicking it with us. As always, thank you guys for being a part of the show. Again, Nevada is going to potentially have the night off tomorrow because we have Troy Smith and Jim Trussell tomorrow night. So you guys, 7 p.m. we'll be ready to rock and roll. It'll be awesome. Cannot wait to see you guys on there. What a great night it's going to be. Can't wait to see you guys. So with that being said, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. It's a huge show because you guys make it one. So thank you. It's always a pleasure to have you guys on here. It's a pleasure to be here. So I appreciate you guys being a part of what we do. Again, once we get onto YouTube, if you guys can leave us a comment, shout out where you guys are watching from, shout out who you guys are watching with. Nice, easy comments. And who are you most excited to see in training camp? Who's going to make a move? Put that down in the comments. I read all the comments. I love seeing what you guys say to interact with us. So we appreciate you guys each and every night. If you want to do something huge for us, subscribe to Apple Podcasts, search for Buckeye Scoop. Also Spotify. Those are huge things that we're growing right now very successfully, and it's all because of you. So thank you. That being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We're going to talk to you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great night. Go Bucks.